If I'd done more to sit amongst all those windbags, then I'd stay on the closet stool after my business there was discharged.
It is you to play, St. John.
They produce more hot air at Westminster than Mr. Daniel's furnace at his smelting works.
My smelting furnaces are designed to produce tin, not air.
As a manufacturer, you should devise some means of bottling the hot air that they give off at Parliament and shipping it out to Sir Horatio Watson for the better explosion of his 14-pounders. George would be better employed on the hunting field.
We cannot all afford to take our ease as country gentlemen like you, St. John.
Afford? If you knew how much it costs to maintain a pack these days.
We need all the able men in Parliament we can muster, I'd have thought, when you consider the state of the country. Jacobin clubs, rebellions, mutinies, domestic discontent.
Not to mention the war.
At least that's going better now with the Turks coming in on our side.
Mad Paul of Russia is turning against the Frenches too, I hear.
No more fear of invasion anyway. Who knows? We might soon be invading the continent. Don't you agree, Mr. Warleggan?
Bonaparte shot his boat, I know that.
Where the devil is that Bonaparte fellow?
Oh, locked up in Egypt.
Well, on your own, Mrs. Whitworth.
That's where he'll stay as long as Nelson commands the Mediterranean.
You don't happen to have seen my wife, do you? I've quite lost track of her.
Is she not dancing?
Oh, not now. There are half a dozen couples standing up in the hall, but at the moment, Caroline is not amongst them.
I swear I have never refused a duel but once, my dear. That was when my father called me out.
There you are.
Your father challenged you.
I'd taken a fancy to a lady who turned out to be his mistress. He called for pistols.
I was wondering what had become of you.
I was in the library with Captain Dudley. Captain Dudley has been telling me of his dueling exploits.
I thought dueling a very extravagant reaction to a quarrel.
There's no other way between gentlemen, my dear.
At least you declined to fight your father.
Certainly. By no stretch of the imagination could my father be accounted a gentleman.
Scarce seen you the whole time we've been here.
I've been enjoying myself, Dwight. It's a good party.
Tea is about to be taken in the drawing room if you care to join us there.
Is that where George is?
No, George is showing Sir Christopher Hawkins round the house.
Oh.
Dr. Ennis, I'm so glad you felt able to come. In view of your recent bereavement, I was afraid you might decline.
Well, it does my wife good to get out of herself. At least she thinks it does.
Shall we take tea?
Do you play at whist, Captain Dudley?
I prefer more exciting forms of gaming, and then only if the stakes are high.
Well, when I didn't see you there, how's everything at the vicarage? And young John?
In good health, I understand.
Understand?
Osborne saw fit to engage a nurse for the boy. A formidable woman, very conscientious. She never leaves his side.
What, never?
Elizabeth? Sir Christopher is asking for you. He's in the drawing room with the Lord Devereux.
Is it all going as you hoped, George?
Everything is going exactly as I knew it would. Perfect.
If you seek advancement in the church with the same adroitness that you bring to whist, Mr. Whitworth, I'm surprised you're not an archbishop by now. Elizabeth, is there anything stronger than drinking tea?
You may have anything you wish, then.
George, I'd be grateful if you'd introduce me to Sir Christopher Hawkins. The living of Monachan has recently become vacant, and though it is not in Sir Christopher's
Can we talk about it later, Osborne?
Well, certainly, but my mother, Lady Whitworth, writes that my uncle, Conan Godolphin, is now very close to the Prime Minister. So you see, there could be such a thing as a quid pro quo in this, George. If you would...
One would not have thought a cleric to be such an accomplished card player, would one, Mr. Warleggan?
He used to play regularly with Nat Pierce, I believe.
Alas, his visits there nowadays have a more spiritual content.
Shall we take tea, Mrs. Whitworth?
Dr. Ennis, if I am ever in need of your services, can I count on you to attend me?
Well, if you can persuade your husband to send for me rather than Dr. Behenna.
You see, now that Osborne has this nurse for John Conan, he has nothing to fear from me. So he has his own way in all things.
I know it would pleasure you not a little if I were to marry Mary Ann Tamblyn, sister.
Oh, I don't want you to marry her for my sake.
Maybe she would not have me. I've only seen and spoken to her a few times. I know she have a taken for me.
And you for her?
Well, I like her, but 'tis not love. Or not what I recollect of love.
But even if Rowella had been free to marry a Drake, do you think after her upbringing she would have been happy as a blacksmith's wife?
Yes, I believe she would have. But as 'tis not to be...
Oh, Drake, I do want you to be happy. You need a wife to work with, to work for, otherwise you dry up inside. And love can grow, you know. Did with Ross.
Didn't Ross love you when he married you, then?
Well, I loved him, but with Ross, love grew. Grew over the years.
Caroline? Caroline?
I came out this night.
I was not the only one who remarked on your absence from the supper table. And when I came in here and found the windows wide open...
Oh, Dwight, leave them, please. Or I swear I'll suffocate.
Do you not think we might go home now, Caroline? We have been here since noon.
Dwight, I want to go away.
Go away?
Not permanent. You'll not get rid of me as easily as that. But for a while. Away from Kilwarren and Saul and all these people here tonight. And our friends, trying to be kind.
Where do you want to go?
I thought perhaps London. I'd stay with my aunt. Just for a month or two. I know I'm selfish. I always have been. But I know I'll not mend. Except on my own. Forgive me, Dwight.
Ah, the runaway found. Will you not rejoin us?
I think, if you don't mind, we'd rather send for our cloaks, Elizabeth.
Nonsense. It's barely 11. And I hope they'll be dancing again after supper.
Excuse me.
Elizabeth?
What are you doing here?
It was an impulse. To see for myself what sort of party you were giving. Saw the light from this window. Heard Dwight calling for Caroline. I didn't expect to have the good fortune to meet you.
You must be mad.
Well, 11 months a member of Parliament has made me much too conformist. It's good for my soul. For my rebellious nature to break out on occasion.
But if you're seen...
Oh, I doubt if George would risk a scandal in front of his fine guests. You know, this is the first time we've talked alone since that day we met in the churchyard.
Well, we should never talk alone.
That will soon be remedied. I leave for Westminster in 2 or 3 weeks. Is, Geoffrey Charles here?
No, he's at school.
He must be growing up.
Quite the young man now, you'd hardly know him.
And Valentine? Is George still suspicious of his parentage?
No, not anymore, but if he heard you were here, please go.
Is this gentleman annoying you, Mrs. Warleggan?
Not at all.
Why should you suppose that likely?
My cousin, Captain Poldark, Captain Monk Adderley. Another member of Parliament, Ross.
Your servant, sir. I confess I took you for a threadbare troubadour come to sing at my lady's window and being dismissed without his proper pourboire.
I sing ill and accept pourboires with even less grace.
That's a pity. I always accept what women have to offer on principle. Your husband sent me in search of you. He misses you.
Then shall we go in, Captain, or the ladies, I'm sure, will be missing you?
I don't recall having met you at Westminster.
I attend so seldom. I belong to Lord Croft, by the way. Who owns you?
No one owns me.
These Cornish boroughs are as rotten as a basket of bad eggs. Damn it, my dear, you sit in someone's interest.
Lord Falmouth's.
And you're one of his eggs, don't you know? Come and see me when you get to town. We'll throw dice together.
You'll have a bite to eat with us? You'd be very welcome.
Is your father at home?
He's a Sally Chillock's kidley. Do we know you're here?
Go and fetch your sisters, Ned. Dinner's on the table.
You'll murder him if he comes home.
Do as I tell you.
Have you come courting?
Ned! He's at that age. Take no notice.
Mary Ann, I have something to tell you. Mary. But it may take long to explain.
Lottie and Ruth will be in for their dinner soon.
Now, if I ask you to heart to me, 'tis because I have a taken for you, and I wish to explain what's in my mind.
Father's worse than ever when he's been at Sally Chilloff's Kidley.
Then go and fetch him. Tell him we have company for dinner. Mr. Drake Khan. And he's to come home at once.
You murder him.
Tell him, run along. It'll take him a few minutes to get there. And even more to get him out.
Do you know Mrs. Whitworth, a wife to the vicar at St. Margaret's Church in Truro?
I know of her.
A dean's daughter, educated, read and write better than I ever shall. But, well, you see, I loved her, Mary Ann.
Thank you, Miss King. You may retire now.
If the boy should wake in the night and find himself locked in his room...
Then I would go to him. The boy never wakes. He feels safe with Miss King.
Maybe she were never for me. But love her I did. And I want you to know that...
You love her still?
Yes.
I know, Drake.
But she be wed. 3 year now. I've not spoken to her since and only seen her but once, so 'tis over and done.
Where are those children? Their dinner will be cold.
Mary Ann, folk to tell me, and I come to believe that I need a wife. I've a home and a good trade, none better. And I've a taken for ye. I don't feel, maybe never shall feel, what I feel for Mo Winner. But I'd like you for a wife if you'd have me. Just so long as you understand. Now, I'll not stay for your father or your dinner. Just ask that in due time you'll give me your answer.
Drake, you're a brave and honest man. And I respect you for what you told me. If you do not think 'tis too forward of me, I'll give you the answer now. I'll marry you and try to make you happy again. And with God's help, in due time, I hope...
Maybe 'twould be best now if I were to stay and meet your father.
Yes, Drake. I suspect that'd be for the best.
So that's how the land lies, huh? Courting my daughter behind my back. Waiting till I'm out the house and then creeping after me.
You're not often in the house, Father.
Oh, come afore, has he? Take advantage, do you? No mother, you see, to keep an eye on her while I'm away at work.
Or drinking in the Kidley.
Don't you put airs on with me, my girl. Father and mother, I have to be to the lot of you.
We thought to get wed at All Hallows time.
Oh. When's that?
4 weeks tomorrow.
4 weeks?
No purpose waiting, is there?
There's many you want her, you know.
Father?
She's fitty with her hands. Sew, cook, read and write, too.
I know.
And how is she pretty? She can do better than a smith.
Oh, please, Father.
4 weeks tomorrow. Why the hurry?
Perhaps we'd better make it later, Drake.
As long as there's no need for haste.
Need?
You know what I mean. 'Tis how 'tis with some.
We'll wait till Easter, then.
Well, there's no call going into a tantrum.
It's no way to talk to me.
Do you give your consent?
As long as there's no need for haste. And you take good care of her, as I have done.
Oh, Brodie, that's the best news. But are you sure?
Oh, Lucas Tamblyn is. Makes out she's throwing herself away, Mark you.
How dare he?
Oh, plenty of local lads dying for her, says he.
Such as whom?
And she has to go and throw herself away on a foreigner from Warleggan. Oh, well-connected, Mark you. Brother-in-law to that Captain Ross Poldark. And as a smith, he might make something out of that bally shop one day.
Oh, Lucas Tamblyn, he makes my blood boil.
Oh, well, don't he take no notice of him. He wouldn't be looking for a drink from everyone he meets to tell if it heart he weren't as skittish as a colt about it.
Oh, Ross, such good news. Drake and Mary Ann are engaged to be married. Isn't that wonderful?
Oh, well, hello, sister-to-be.
As soon as that?
A month.
Well, I'm sorry I won't be here for the wedding.
Oh, the children, so untidy. It's a pity you have to go back to London so soon.
I've not long seen Dwight. He says Caroline left for London this morning.
Caroline?
It seems she took Sarah's death much harder than she showed, or tried to show. She's gone to stay with her aunt to try and get over it.
Oh, that quite takes away my happiness from Drake. How will Dwight manage?
It's not altogether a surprise to me. I had the embarrassment of overhearing part of their conversation at the Warleggan's party.
You weren't at that party.
No.
Ross?
But I did go there that night. I don't know why. See what sort of company George was entertaining.
Did you meet Elizabeth?
Not on purpose. But she came out onto the terrace.
And?
Well, she was not over pleased to see me. I can only suppose that her marriage to George is peaceable at last. For her sake, I hope so.
And for yours?
You should know my relations with Elizabeth by now. There's nothing more to add.
To go back to London in 2 weeks.
What concerns me is that we were not unobserved.
You mean George?
No, a friend of his, another member of Parliament. A man called Adderley. There was something about him that made me shiver.
I'm glad you felt able to stay so long, Captain Adderley. All my other guests fled the house the next morning. George, Captain Adderley's just saying goodbye.
I hope not goodbye, Ma'am. George will be coming to town after Christmas. I hope you'll come too.
We shall have to see.
I insist upon it. I want to see so very much more of you, Mrs. Warleggan.
The post-chaise is at the door, Monk.
Post-chaise? You're not going by coach from Truro?
There are limits to human endurance, my dear, and for a man of my sensibility, a public coach is one of them.
You don't have to show me the way, John. George, I've come from the bank and Captain Adderley.
Have we had the honor, sir?
Nicholas Warleggan, sir.
My father.
We met at George's party last week.
Forgive me. I have such a poor memory for faces. Well, I must take my leave. I'll see what I can do for you in town, George. Au revoir, madame. Oh, by the by, Mrs. Warleggan, shall I give your regards to your cousin? I dare say I shall run into him in the house if I chance to look in one day.
I doubt whether my wife has any message for Captain Poldark, thank you.
Because he stole your seat from you. You do take politics exceeding serious, my dear.
The rift between Captain Poldark and myself goes deeper than politics, Monk.
Forgive me, I did not mean to open an old wound. I merely thought that as your wife
My
and
wife and Captain Poldark have not met for years.
May I show you to your carriage, Captain?
I thought you hardly knew the fellow, Monk.
Oh, we have had the occasional encounter, don't you know?
Is he going all the way to London by private carriage?
Hired post-chaise.
His father's a merchant from Bristol, I've discovered.
You've been digging it out.
He's suspected to be deeply in debt, living off his wits, and what he takes for manners. I'm amazed he can afford to hire a post-chaise.
He can't. I can.
Huh?
He can be useful to me, Father. Now, what was it that brought you so urgently from the bank?
St. John Peter has been to see us. A trifle pressed for money, he said. It seems the cost of maintaining a hunting pack these days is quite ruinous. So could we oblige him with another loan?
He already owes us £12,000.
Against his marriage settlement, still untouched at Pascoe's.
So what did you say?
That I must talk to you about it. I know you have certain moves afoot against Pascoe's bank.
Moves that we cannot make until that old fool Pierce expires. For a man who's been expected to meet his maker at any time during the last 6 weeks, he's showing a remarkable tenacity for holding off the appointment.
I met his sister last night. She says he's sunk into a coma and there's nothing more Behenna can do for him now except send for the parson.
But I see Pierce every Thursday. If I've not saved his soul by now, I doubt I have a shell. Besides, to administer the last sacrament to a comatose man smacks of popery to me.
Dr. Behenna thought that as a friend of his, you might wish to be with him at the end.
Whatever for? Am I expected to help with the laying out? I shall see him on Thursdays, as is my custom.
And if he's dead by then?
I shall have no need to go at all.
Does this mean that you are going to be at home every Thursday evening from now on?
Will you be sorry if I am? Morwenna, my mother writes that she would like to come and stay with us.
Lady Whitworth.
If she comes, I shall put her in charge of John Conan.
And will she then keep the key to his bedroom?
In view of your threats to the boy, I had no choice but to deny you access to him.
You did have a choice.
Not one that is acceptable to a married man. But now that you are compliant in that duty, and if I may say so, look much the better for it, I would willingly entrust the boy with you again. If I had an undertaking, he would come to no harm.
I am quite indifferent to John Conan, Osborne.
But he is your son.
Yours. I am only sorry that with Mr. Pierce dying, I shall not have the peace of Thursday evenings to look forward to. Is there no other member of your flock who would appreciate your comfort and guidance?
There'll be no more copywork from Mr. Pierce, Rowella. Dying he is.
Someone will take on his practice?
His clerk thinks not. I'm afraid we'll have to look elsewhere from what I got from the notary.
He didn't come to much.
Yeah. So when do you manage at all on what I give you? Do you have a little nest egg I don't know of?
Nest egg?
That new rug in the bedroom.
To keep out the draft from those rotting floorboards.
I'm not complaining, Rowella.
The whole house is rotting. The rain comes in at night onto the bed.
The roof needs mending.
Well, I can't afford that out of what you give me.
Of course not. I'm in mind to get some old sacks to put over it. Coat them with tar.
We live like pigs.
They'd be new slippers too, I think.
Am I not even permitted to dress now? Just because I scrimp and save to afford a few comforts for us both?
My love. I'm that glad you do. It shows me what a clever wife I have as well.
As well?
As well as being beautiful. Goodbye. I must go now or I'll be late for the library.
Oh, you don't want that old stool, Marianne. Drake's got plenty to sit on.
Marianne has a fancy for it, sister.
Or I never knew.
Is these 2 tankards to go in?
Yes, they were left me by my grandmother. And these 3 spoons there are mine, too.
Oh. Who's to keep house now that you're to be wed, Marianne? Will your sister Ruth manage?
She's 14 now. Yeah. I think she can. And I'll not be far away, will I? Now, do you think we can depend on Father to bring us over after the wedding? He might be a bit fuddled with the ale that day.
Well, I'll bring it over myself, or maybe Sam.
Right.
Sam's really pleased that I'm to be wed to a woman who goes to church Sunday, sister.
He'll want you to go back the connection.
Aided by a woman who's half saved already, he says.
Half saved?
He didn't notice he'd said all funny at first. Half saved.
Drake, you're laughing.
Osborne is out, I'm afraid. He always goes visiting on Thursday nights.
It was you I came to see, Morwenna. I was so concerned for you on the occasion of our party last month.
You need not have been.
That person who showed me in just now, was that the nurse you spoke of for John Conan? Why can you not have another of your sisters here? It was such a happy arrangement with Rowella.
I would not have a sister of mine here again.
Do you ever see Rowella? I know she married beneath.
I never see Rowella, and we never speak of her here.
Morwenna, I realized some time ago that George and I may have made a mistake in marrying you to Osborne.
Do not concern yourself for me, Elizabeth. I have learned to accept. Would you like some tea? I dare say we can have some if we ask.
No, I mustn't stay. I'm late for George as it is.
Then I'll ring for you to be shown to your carriage.
Morwenna.
I was so sorry not to see Geoffrey Charles at your party. He is away at school, I suppose.
Yes, and grown so you'd hardly recognize him.
I would recognize him. Be sure I would recognize him.
Morwenna, are you so very unhappy?
Have you heard that Drake Khan is to be married?
No.
Mr. Odgers told me this afternoon. The wedding is a week on Sunday.
Who is he marrying?
No one I know. One of the cottagers in Saul, I believe.
She sounds as if she's someone of a station in life, at least.
Yes. I hope she loves him. More than anything, I would like Drake to be happy. And if he loves her, as he surely must... Mrs. Warleggan is leaving now, I think.
Well, perhaps another day we could talk longer, Morwenna.
I will tell Osborne you called. He will be sorry to have missed you.
I left my horse, as usual, outside Mr. Pierce's house and came the back way without being observed. But as Pierce will almost certainly be removed to St. Margaret's churchyard within the next few days, even this evening it was hard to detect whether he was in the land of the living or not. You'll see the difficulty I shall be placed in. You must also understand that I am seeking the living of Monachan, and I cannot afford to have that imperiled by any breath of scandal. And then there is my wife to consider. As long as she denied me her bed, I was not to be blamed for seeking my rights elsewhere. But now that she complies, one can hardly put it stronger than that. On 3 nights of the week, my visits to you, Rowella, put me in a state of sin, and I will not be led astray further. So understand that tonight, my child, is positively our last meeting. Now, let us go up, or your husband will be home before we've even done talking.
The roof leaks so dreadfully, it drips all over the bed.
Hardly matters, just for one more night.
It matters to Arthur and me. It will cost all of £10 to have the roof repaired, and without even copywork to be done for Mr. Pierce, well, I really don't know where to turn. You have been so kind in the little gifts you make us that if they are not to continue...
You come upstairs, Rowella.
I couldn't tonight. You have so upset me.
There will be no other times.
Not even one more. Next week I may be more myself.
No, I have decided.
If you could see your way to helping us with the roof, I don't like to ask for money. I never have.
I only have a sovereign on my person. But if that will help...
Oh, thank you. And you'll bring the rest next week?
I shall not be here next week.
I'd let you indulge in your favourite little fancy.
Tonight.
It's quite out of the question tonight.
Rowella.
I'm just not in the mood for anything at all tonight.
You should be publicly whipped through the streets.
By you, Vicar. I really can't tonight after what you told me. But next week, one last time. Everything, I promise. If you bring the money.
Mere £1,000? If you cannot advance it, pray let me not detain you. I did not come here to stand cap in hand while a pair of bankers judged if I was worthy of their credit.
We are only trying to explain that the bank itself is in some difficulty at the moment, St. John.
Then I shall take my custom elsewhere. I've no doubt that Bassett will oblige me, or even Pascoe himself.
The truth is, we do not have the money to lend, St. John.
The reason we asked you to call on us here was in the hope that you could see your way to help us.
I, sir, am not a moneylender.
No, it's rather the other way round, isn't it?
We've already made loans of £12,000.
Against my marriage settlement secured at Pascoe's bank.
Loans which fall due for repayment or renewal on Tuesday of next week.
I am prepared to accept the new loan on the same terms as the others.
It's not so much a question of extending a new loan, St. John, as of calling in the others.
What did you say, sir?
Oh, we hope it's only a temporary measure, but the abandonment of the Portreath Railway and the failure of other business ventures that we've been financing have forced on us the need to shorten credit where we can. So, as yours is the largest unsecured loan on our book...
Unsecured? You have my word as a gentleman. The capital I hold at Pascoe's bank...
In terms of strict business...
Business? What do I know of business? God's blood! I shall not be able to maintain my pack.
You have other assets to draw on, I'm sure.
The capital you've just been referring to, Pascoe's, for instance.
You expect me to break into my marriage settlement to pay you? By Judas, I never in my life thought to be so soiled by the demands of usurers. Very well, you shall have your money, every penny, paid on the nail next Tuesday. Good day to you.
Poor St. John. I wonder what he'll do if he does have to give up his pack.
He'd rather sell his wife than part with his hounds. No, he'll simply call on his father-in-law. And now that Pierce is dead at last...
Is he dead?
This morning. The funeral has been arranged for Friday. And by Tuesday, when Pascoe has to meet St. John's debts to us, he'll also find himself answerable for Pierce's embezzlements.
It need not be enough to start a run on the bank.
Oh, it will be if I take certain other measures I've been contemplating.
Well, what is to be gained, George? What will it do?
It'll make Warleggan's the only bank in Truro apart from Bassett's.
I suppose people that don't like you, such as Poldark, will bank at Bassett's instead.
By that time, I fancy Poldark will have little to bank anywhere.
But it's so much more convenient, Ralph, to bank everything at Pascoe's.
Convenient, perhaps, but it may not be wise. I have heard certain rumors.
So have I. But Pascoe can keep his head above water even in these difficult days. Besides, he's a friend of mine. I would not withdraw 1 penny from his bank. Now, how about my share in your reverberatory furnaces?
It'll be some years before you see any substantial return on your investment there.
Mr. Daniel.
Ah, Mrs. Poldark. I called to see your husband since I heard he was returning to London shortly.
Today, his trunk is already packed.
In that case, I shall be in the way if I remain a moment longer. Goodbye, Mrs. Poldark. Goodbye, Ross. I hope your confidence is justified.
You take care of my share in your furnace enterprise and don't worry about me. Trudy, will you show Mr. Daniel to his horse? Bye, Ralph. He's worried about Pascoe's bank. Sure there's no need to be.
I got this letter from Caroline.
From London?
And do you know she wants me to join her there?
Oh, why don't you?
What, come with you today?
No, but in a week or two when you've made arrangements for the children.
Hey.
What does she say?
She says that she's always thought of me as a touchstone. What does that mean?
Something by which everything else can be measured.
Oh. I sometimes think I need such a one as you to serve as a touchstone so that nothing is exaggerated out of its proper importance. You'll be so good for me.
Well, why don't you go?
Would you like me to go?
Oh, I'm sure Dwight will be pleased.
Dwight?
And Caroline, too, from what you say. There'll be company for her.
Well, go and get the children to say goodbye to you. I don't want to miss the coach.
Hadn't you better calm down? You don't want to be late for your parents.
I got a surprise for you.
Surprise?
I thought I'd stay home tonight. There. That should keep the rain out for a bit.
Will miss you.
We'll not be there. Mrs. Ager, the Honourable Mrs. Ager, where my mother was in service, has got some sewing for her to be done tonight. And there's work for my father, too, restoring a cabinet. They left word at the library this afternoon.
Who will mind the children?
Well, Tabby's old enough for that.
But Tabby has fits. If she had one tonight and your parents weren't there...
So you want me to go?
Of course not. I miss you dreadfully on Thursday nights. We'll sit by the fire together and enjoy the cakes and sweetmeats I made for your sisters. Do you like sweetmeats?
Not as much as the children do.
I'm sure they'll understand you want to stay at home tonight.
Mother would have said I'm not coming.
And it's most unlikely that Tabby will have one of her fits.
Yes.
So get that tar off your hands and we'll have a nice, cosy evening together.
The children do look forward to my coming, 'tis true.
I expect they really just look forward to what I send them each week.
They don't get sweetmeats no other time.
Would you like me to take them over for you and explain? I'm sure they'll understand.
You have such a feeling for other people, don't you, Rowella? I think that's partly why I love you so much. Do you think I should go after all?
That's wholly for you to say, Arthur. I'll be lonely, of course, but...
I do love you so dearly, Rowella.
And I love you. Everything I do is for you, Arthur. Everything.
It's good quality, Mary Ann. And I got Mr. Mole to unroll it in the shop so they could see if there were no flaws in it. And knowing how skillful you are with the needle, you could make anything you want out of it.
Lucas has given us a bolt of silk.
Silk? Lucas gets silk from?
Off that wreck last year. Treasure trove, he calls it.
Oh, not what the excise men would call it. Well, I could take this back and change it for something else.
Oh, no, Mrs. Poldark.
Mary Ann, isn't it about time you stopped calling me Mrs. Poldark? We're to be sisters-in-law, you know.
Please don't take this back. I can make such pretty curtains with it.
Curtains?
Do you know he's got nothing on the windows in his cottage at all?
Well, no one's going to look in, are they?
We shall have curtains, Drake. I'm right, aren't I, Mrs. de Melzer?
Get down.
Who the devil are you?
Who's there? Arthur? You're home early. Whatever happened?
His horse bolted, he fell, and he was dragged along the ground. His foot was still caught in the stirrup. They found him this morning.
How is he? George?
He's dead.
Mr. Whitworth? Last night, Judd says, and he were dragged 1/2 mile.
But he's a good rider. Did he fall?
Well, maybe 'twasn't an accident. Folk think he might have been set on. They found a cudgel.
Where did Judd hear this?
Well, over at Saul.
Bad news travels first.
Everyone must know by now.
Everyone?
I know it's a dreadful shock to you, but you must pull yourself together. There are certain arrangements to be made. George has already sent word to Lady Whitworth, but there are other people to be informed. Where's the child?
With Miss Kane, I think. I'll inquire.
Morwenna, you owe it to yourself not to give way like this. You must bear yourself with fortitude. Do answer me, Morwenna.
Is Marianne at home, Ned? Father's not.
Come inside, Drake.
He said you're not to be alone with him till you're wed. That's not till tomorrow.
Leave us, Ned. Go on.
Father will be worse than ever when Marianne's gone.
You've heard about Mr. Whitworth?
Yes.
I heard it from a tinker who brought in a horse to be shot. He thought the tinkers would be blamed.
'Twas accident, wasn't it?
Maybe, anyway, he's dead. I went down to the shore when I heard. Try to pray a little. The Lord is my shepherd. He leads me through the waters of comfort. The tide was coming in, all angry and flurried. I knew how it felt. Marianne. Marianne.
You'd better go to her, Drake. She'll be needing you.
Morwenna. Morwenna.
Elizabeth, we must go home.
But we can't leave her like this.
Sir Christopher Hawkins is expected. If we do not leave now, he'll be there before us. Now, can we not get the girl's sister to look after? What's her name?
Rowella. Yeah. Would you like Rowella to come to you? I'm sure we could prevail upon her to spend the night with you. Your sister. Yes, George, let's fetch Mrs. Solway.
No.
But you must have somebody with you.
No. I want no one. I want to be alone. Please, leave me alone.
Where be he gone to? Where do I find him? The band's published these 4 weeks, the whole of us all knowing he was to wed you.
He is not to be blamed.
Not blamed?
He told me he loved her before ever he asked me to wed him.
And you still said you'd have him even after that? Hasn't a daughter of mine got any pride? No self-respect? I swear, I'll scat every bone in his body. Corn? Drink corn? Where are you then? Corn! I want a word with you. Corn! Where is Solway?
I was clearing out the forge when I heard. I was sorry. Not much for him, but for you and for Mary Ann. I went down to the shore. The sea looked angry, as I was. I felt this pounding in my heart like the waves, and I knew I must tell my mind to Mary Ann. And she guessed where I'd come. She understood. Nothing will part us this time, O'Wenner. I'll go away now. I can see you're upset. But I'll come back. And in due time, when the funeral's over, we'll tell them we mean to be wed. I've my own place. The forge does well. No one owns me but myself. I'll come back. Not for a day or two. There'll be such comings and goings, but later. Do you understand me, O'Wenner?
Don't touch me.
No, I know how we must feel.
No, you don't. Nobody does. No one understands. I'm not for you or anyone.
O'Wenner.
Keep away. It's over, Drake. It ended years ago. It can never begin again. I am sick and contaminated. I never want to see you again. Have this person shown out.